So getting out of a rut, 4 steps. So warning, this is not a bunch of platitudes about how to do this. This actually works. If you follow these steps, whatever rut that you're in right now will be at least alleviated. So the first step, I'm just going to cut right to it, is that all ruts are different. There's different circumstances, whether they're personal, professional, like what kind of circumstances and decisions led up to them, but they all contain the same qualities of blame, shame, and certainty. So blame, it's like blaming yourself. It's like you made bad decisions, you made some bad calls. Shame about having made them and feeling kind of embarrassed is a huge part of being in a rut. And certainty, which is that the only way out of the rut is to continue being in the rut. So it's kind of like the certainty that kind of like you made your bed, and instead of looking for an alternative way to like navigate the situation, you're just going to lay in it. So like part of that shame is like really, I believe, comes from a sense of feeling like, like the rut is actually like taking accountability for decisions you've made, when actually I just invite you to explore whether that's the case. And one of the key things here is we want to relax that absolute like hairball feeling of blame, shame, and certainty, which is like the only path forward is if you keep being in the rut, and that, you kind of deserve it on some level. Step 2 is introduce movement and change. Now, this is the next, this is a really key point, and you want to do it slowly, because when we're in a rut, we typically have low energy. So our routines are kind of start to feel like efficiencies, where it's like, I'm doing my routine. It's actually the one thing that's providing me any comfort. So this one is something you want to be kind of like delicate with. So start with small, like walk somewhere you've never been before. Go to a place in your neighborhood, like a coffee shop, a restaurant. Take a road that you've never explored before, and just take some really low risk chances and start to have like experiences with delight of change. Preferably take a walk in green space, maybe buy something you've never eaten, try a new recipe. And as you start to expand this aperture, potentially like going away for a night or a long weekend, or having a little bit of an adventure. But the key with all of this is not revisiting old haunts, it's trying new things, in the smallest, like minimum viable dose possible. The other thing is movement. And so this is either physical movement, or it's actually both physical movement and mental movement. And so some of the techniques and exercises in Parinama method book are great for this, like emotional hygiene, which is actually like processing thoughts and emotions in a very particular methodology. It's in chapter 12. If you want more, just write in the comments. I'm happy to provide more information about that. But this is about starting to actually like get yourself out of a rut, because the analogy here is that you're in a car, that's like its wheels are stuck in the mud or on ice, and every time you like jam down on the gas, you just like expend a lot of energy to get yourself in deeper. So what this leads to is the next step. Step 3 is people. Now, there are people in your life who are kind of like your premier people for inspiration, aspiration. These are people who should love you, care about you. And these are the folks that once we've done step 1 and 2 and we've loosened up the hairball, because I want to keep in mind here that these are the folks that we don't want to have see us when we're at like points that feel low or embarrassed or like, rut-worthy situations. So we tend to actually move in the opposite direction of what's going to get us out of the rut. So part of what we're doing is we're going to people who can provide space, who can provide context, inspiration, joy, and who care about us. And what that role is in the car analogy is like, you have the power. It's just when we're in a rut with a certainty that's like, look, I just have to keep hitting the gas. We just keep rolling those wheels and getting deeper. And what the people, these very specific people, these inspirational, aspirational, caring people do for us is they just give us a little nudge. They show us like they remind us who we are. They remind us what's possible. And with that time, we don't need a ton from them. And this is important because especially going into these conversations, the sense of like being like, oh, I'm going to like be particularly needy might make people actually a little bit nervous. And it's like, no, it's going to be in the space. It's going to spend time with people that like are uplifting and reminding us of like our higher aspects of ourselves, which we're going to get to. And they're giving us that little nudge out of the mud, out of the ice. And now we're operating out of our own power. So step 4, and they're all really important, but step 4 is what is at the heart of a rut, which is at the heart of a rut is a sense of having lost connection with your inner knowing, and it's overriding it. It's not listening to it. It's kind of being like relying on kind of an old plan, or like feeling embarrassed or shameful about a decision. So it's kind of like, we just kind of keep, staying in jobs that drain us, staying in dynamics that are like eroding our sense of self. We just keep doing things that actually are like hitting the gas in the mud ice rut. And so what we're trying to do by reducing the noise of the blame, shame, and certainty is we're actually like quieting it down so we can actually start to hear ourselves and get back to that inner voice, because that gut feeling is always right. It's always right. It doesn't always give the most convenient. It's not the most convenient advice, guidance, whatever you want to call it. And even where you feel it's coming from is, it can be a point of faith. It can be a point of like self-determination. But either way, it's really connecting with like an aspect of divinity, which we're tapped into, which is like a divining rod, the gut that says like, I don't think this is right. Or it says like, I really think I should leave this, or you know what, there has to be a better way to do this. I want to explore that. So what we're doing in all of this is getting ourselves back into our own power and our own determination, which is like getting out of that rut. And now when you hit the gas, you like make headway on the road. So just as a summary, like we're reducing blame, shame, and certainty as rigidity. It's very different than conviction, but that's another video. Then next, what we're doing is we're introducing movement and change, and we're starting to like kind of grease the kind of wheels and tease out the sense of like really like alternate possibilities. And we're introducing people that inspire us and uplift us. And then what we're doing is we're ultimately looking to connect with our inner knowing. And what we do is we just keep cycling through this. It's like repeating through it. It's like steps 1 through 4, and just keep repeating. Like sometimes the first rotation of that doesn't really like, it just kind of starts to get the juices flowing. But at the core, it's like, the thing is, the most important thing is give yourself a break. Give yourself a break for the situation that you found yourself in, because almost all the time, the reason that we're in a rut is that something that worked really well once no longer works. And so it's like a strategy or a relationship or a job doesn't grow us anymore, so we're stagnant in it. Or like we have evolved personally, so certain relationships don't serve us anymore, but they once really helped us grow. So it isn't even so much as needing to look at like the circumstances of the rut and demonize them, because sometimes that can be pouring more energy into spinning our wheels. And what we're really trying to look for is the road ahead. So follow these 4 steps. I'm telling you, they work. I use them myself. And so I really, really hope that you can get out of whatever rut that you're in, because the reason that I made this video was Jen Liddell Quirk had prompted me and said, okay, well, how do people start Parinama method when they're feeling low energy, when they're maybe in crisis, when they're just not in the space to actually be building and growing? And this is my answer to that. Please like, subscribe. Everything about where you can find the book is parinama.com. Comments all get answered, so anything you have to say, good, bad, ugly, constructive, or weird, I love seeing it. So thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.